Hi, I'm Patty Dreier, Portage County Executive. Welcome to Portage County Matters. Right outside our door again this month, we've got some, I hope, completed construction very shortly here next to Mid-State Technical College. So I'm pretty sure that you're going to hear a little bit of engine beeping and earth moving outside the door yet, but we're happy about these improvements here in Stevens Point. My guest today is Tim Siebert. He's the president of the Historical Society right here in Portage County. We're going to get to all sorts of interesting topics about history in just a few moments, but I want to start out with a few county updates first. McDill Dam repair. Well, the project moves forward. The repair of the dam will commence in early October and be completed somewhere around Thanksgiving time. The DNR has, within the last couple of weeks, approved the engineering plans for construction, and our highway commissioner is engaged in the process. He's a professional engineer, so that's extremely helpful, and he'll be on site during every step of the repair process to document the progress. I believe that the pond will be refilled next spring. So stay tuned for more of this repair project. Justice Works. I wanted to mention a few things about Justice Works. Justice Works, as many of you know, is a community-based organization that's working on restorative justice issues. And those are basically issues that resolve the issues of relationships between offenders, victims, and the community, because when a crime is committed, all of those three partners, if you would, are affected. They have a leading program called Volunteers in Probation, or VIP for short, and this is a program you might have heard about in our community. It matches trained community volunteers in a mentor relationship with offenders in our criminal justice system that are appropriate for the program. And through the program, they help offenders get on a better track in their lives to reduce recidivism. That is basically that we're working to reduce their return to jail. As you know, many people frequently return to jail once they've had their first encounter, if you would, with the justice system, and we've got to set them straight on a straighter course earlier in the process, let's just put it that way. It costs all of us an awful lot of money, not to mention costing our victims and the rest of the community a lot along the way. So anyway, the VIP program is proven to be successful, and it's a recognized model. And stakeholders of our criminal justice system and members of our community feel very strongly about continuing the program so we can keep it moving forward. And so do I. I believe very strongly in it too. It's an integral component of our justice system here in Portage County. I wanted you to know, I wanted to put this here as an update at the beginning of Portage County Matters, because it's important that you know that this mentorship model will be part of our community-based corrections model in partnership with the Wisconsin Department of Corrections. You're going to be hearing more about this, and we want to make sure that we retain the capacities of this essential program as we move ahead. There are some funding issues to attend to related to the community-based program, and at the same time we're not quite ready to receive the Department of Corrections dollars yet. So anyway, again, you're going to hear more about it, and I wanted you to be aware. Feel free to give my office a call if you'd like to learn more. 2013 budget. Wow, it's been wall-to-wall meetings over these last few days. We're working hard with the directors of every department in county government to begin to piece together the budget for 2013 and beyond. Our equalized valuation and net new growth numbers have come in just only a week ago as of the taping of the show, and it will definitely now give us the parameters, I guess, within which we are working as we have to reaffirm our priorities and redesign our way forward to meet the challenges. I will present the county's budget to the county board on October 2nd. Again, this is a great window of time if you have questions, concerns along the way, and want to have part of make sure that you help us redefine priorities that are meaningful to you. I welcome your emails, your phone calls, and we'll be happy to talk directly with you about it. Economic development, that's another topic, of course, that's tied to the county budget and those net new growth numbers for sure. Of course, at the heart of our concerns are how well does our economic development system support new businesses coming in or seek new businesses coming in that are aligned with our visions for the kind of community we want to be and become here in Portage County. And after discussions over the last number of months with the City of Stevens Point, the Village of Plover, and other community partners, including the Portage County Business Council, I ended up making a presentation in July to the Portage County Business Council, to the Economic Development Committee in the county, and others, to present a vision for economic development that the city, the village, and the county, as partners, government partners, collectively developed, I guess you would say. Our vision lays out a goal of developing a more proactive, coordinated, and focused vision for economic development. Right now, it's a rather piecemealed approach. We sort of evolved in certain kinds of directions that I don't believe are point on where they need to be, no pun intended here with a point, where we reside. But anyway, I'm really happy to tell you that the Portage County Business Council Executive Committee has now taken that charge, and they are moving ahead over the next few months on planning efforts that will work with business and education, nonprofit, and government communities to get us all together and help redefine that better, more focused, more proactive, and coordinated approach to economic development. So stay tuned. I am sure that will be a topic that we will bring back to the show in the future. And my last bit of update that I wanted to offer you before we get to our guest today is about the courthouse restoration project. As you know, we've got a courthouse that was built in the 1950s, and as some of you may have already seen, if you've been near the courthouse lately, there are construction projects going on around the courthouse. Right now we're repairing the two north entrances of the courthouse that are marble entryways. They're under construction through the end of October. They're no longer used as public entrances due to our courthouse security initiatives, but you're going to notice that the sidewalk is closed near them, and there's lots of action, let's just put it that way. We're saving the old marble and we're restoring it to its original place. Over time, the marble slabs were at risk of breaking because of how the ground movement and the shifting of the foundation of the building and all of that has gone on. So anyway, it's kind of an exciting project, but it's a bit of historical restoration for sure. And that is a wonderful segue to present to you Tim Siebert, President of the Portage County Historical Society. I just want to say welcome, welcome.
Thank you.
What a great, it's a great day to be in Stevens Point for all of the, and in Portage County, for all of the historical projects going on. And I'm just so excited about sharing this with all of the listeners today. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
So tell us all about yourself, about how long you've been the president, about what you did before or concurrent with your presidency of the Historical Society. Then we'll dig more into what the organization does and what projects we're working on and how folks can get involved.
I taught history at SPASH for 32 years.
That's kind of convenient.
Yes,
right?
Right up my alley.
Yeah, right up your alley.
And I became president of the Historical Society 30 years ago.
30?
Yes.
So
I've been at it for a while.
Yeah,
but it was
beautiful.
perfect. It segued right into what I did, what I loved, and it gave me a chance to do hands-on kinds of things as opposed to just reading a book about something. And then my family is 4 generations on both sides in the county. So I had a lot of roots here, and it just became fun to do.
Well, excellent. And I just got to say thank you for all of those years of volunteer service. Wow. And how big's your board, by the way?
16.
16.
16 people, yeah.
Wow. Now, even just, we're going to talk about some projects, some events, some ways that folks can get involved. But let's talk about the Historical Society mission. And it's been around for well more than 30 years, right? Or did you see it from its beginning? Yep,
it actually founded in 1952.
All right.
Although there was one before that kind of faded away, and then it reformed in 1952. So they've been around a long time. The mission is, all people and all societies are defined by their past. What happened in the past is why we do things the way we do them. And the more material objects that you can collect to try to define what that activity was, you have a better chance of telling exactly why we act as we do, perhaps where we're going. And so we've tried very, very hard to collect as much as we can of material objects, everything from letters and photographs to interviews to large agricultural equipment, because Portage County is big in agriculture, to try to broaden out that story and tell as complete a story about who we are and how we got here as we can, and perhaps give a hint as to where the county would like to go. We're always talking about, values and things like that. Well, this is how you learn about that sort of stuff.
Yeah, it anchors us, but it also gives us an sort of a baseboard for leaping forward, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So where do you store all of this? I think I heard from one of the members of your organization not so long ago that you're kind of getting a little stretched for space in storing all
Stretch
these
would be an understatement. It's in a variety of places in buildings. For the harder things, the things made of wood and iron and whatever, those are in basements of buildings. But we do have an archives that's now pretty stuffed, and we're in the process of looking for a place to put it. We've talked seriously to the Masons about perhaps obtaining their building on Strong's Avenue, but at the moment it's a little bit beyond our ability to purchase that. But it would be perfect for the kinds of paper and photographic and things that deteriorate fairly quickly. And we've got a project going on right now to raise money to buy archival supplies for our photographic and clothing collections and paper collections, letters, documents, that sort of thing.
Fascinating.
And that's really expensive.
So I'm just going to say straight out to any listeners out there, I'll put the pitch in because this is a really, really, really great cause. Anybody wants to get involved in helping the Portage County Historical Society achieve their next goals for the people of today and for the people of tomorrow in our county. This is a huge opportunity to get engaged. Now, we're going to have some more information on the bottom of the screen about how folks can call and so on and so forth. But let's talk about what physical facilities beyond the memorabilia itself, and I don't mean to say that to demean its purpose or value or anything. Let's talk about where do people find you if you're physically going to go visit actions of the Historical Society?
Sure. We have a small village called Heritage Park in Plover. It consists of 11 buildings. And there we're trying to tell the tale of the growth of Portage County, both as an agricultural area and Stevens Point as a logging area. We also own the synagogue on Water Street. The Jewish community in Stevens Point was critical to the growth of the economic side of Stevens Point over the course of about 100 years. So we're trying very hard to tell their story, the story of the families that would have worshipped in that site or at that site. We also own the historic firehouse number 2. That was built in the 1880s, and the purpose of that was kind of interesting because the railroads had come into Stevens Point and Point had grown to the south. And the firehouse number 1, which was on the north side, it was just too far for them to go to quickly put out a fire. So they built firehouse number 2 to facilitate speed, to get to the railroad area and that whole section of town that was growing to facilitate the railroads. We also own the Rising Star Mill in Nelsonville, which we use mostly for arts-related projects.
One of my favorite places to go.
It really is neat. And when I first walked into that place, I couldn't believe it. The place was just caked with DDT-infused grain. He was making rat poison and various other kinds of poisons, and it was 2 to 3 feet deep in this
Really?
goo, this rotting grain and stuff. So we had to spend a couple of years cleaning that out shovelful by shovelful. But now it's become...
Yeah, put me in the year. What?
We did that through most of the mid to late 80s. One man in particular spent most of his time cleaning it out, literally shovelful by shovelful, because there's no way to get a truck in there or anything else, in return for using the site as an art studio, part of it, for a while. And that turned out to be a very nice relationship. So now the mill is used for various arts presentations. It's just a fun place to go. And then finally, within the last 2 months, the DOT, Department of Transportation, has donated to us, as soon as it's been rebuilt, the Conkle Corners Shrine, which will be about a 20-foot by 20-foot piece of land on that corner. The shrine was destroyed by a car accident. And because of the expansion of the road, they couldn't rebuild the shrine where it is. Been in the middle of the turn lane. So they've moved it catty corner, and the ownership of it, nobody really knows who owned it, and it was on DOT property. So now through the state society, the county, the society is now going to have the shrine and will be involved with the maintenance of it.
It's on County Trunk B. I know that we've been involved with that highway project for quite some time and actually working through all the details with the State Historical Society. So I'm glad to know that there's a resolution and that we'll be able to preserve or rebuild, I guess you would say, reinstate a little piece of history. When I lived over in Europe, I lived there for 6 years when my husband was on active duty in the military. One of the things that we saw in so many places in Europe were those shrines on the corner of a farm field, where it was just one of my favorite things is just to discover them. And I'm really excited that, well, that always felt like home almost here in Portage County, where we have a number of shrines, and I'm happy to know that we're going to have the preservation of this one.
One of the more elaborate ones in the county. It wasn't just a cross. It was a fairly large brick building, which encased 3 statues.
Yeah. Are you going to have the original 3 statues back then?
2 of the 3 are back. The Mary and Joseph statues did not suffer much in the accident. The statue of Christ was obliterated, so we're going to have to come up with another statue to put back in there. But the DOT seems to think they have some inroads into obtaining one.
No pun intended on that. Some inroads, I like that part. Yeah, DOT.
So hopefully that'll be done, I don't know, soon. They haven't given us a timeline, so I can't be sure.
Otherwise, if there was a photo, somebody could maybe recreate. We've got all sorts of good carvers and so on and so forth that
Absolutely.
And artists in our area. A historical society, about how many members do you have?
Well, all told, about 400.
Wow.
Although a very large percentage of them live elsewhere, far out of the county, literally all over the country. And a section of them are former people whose families worshipped at the synagogue, and those families have become very involved in preserving the synagogue, which is really kind of neat. And their roots are here, and for one reason or another, their families have dispersed across the country, and they've come in. We've had people from literally every state except maybe Alaska and Hawaii, and from as far away as Germany, Israel, coming here to see this. So it really is amazing. And a lot of them have family connections. I
had no idea. So, wow. And so do you host, have there been reunions? Some such events like that?
When we had our kind of opening, we held a reunion. And a lot of people came in from literally all over the country. Unfortunately, it was also about the time of a little bit after Katrina, so some from the southern part of the country couldn't get here. But there were well over 100 people, and probably the most popular rabbi, who was at the time living in Milwaukee, came up to talk a little bit. And one of the gentlemen who had attended here as a young man, lived in California, came back and to talk about his roots here. It was just really a neat event. And then we have groups that come in and hold religious services for one reason or another. The synagogue up in Wausau, there's a Jewish camp, kids camp, down near Watoma. They come up and we'll do a variety of things at the site. So it's become very well known, and we get calls from all over the country about it, which is kind of neat.
Oh, absolutely. And I have to tell you already, I mean, this is just so interesting. This is the stuff that has made us who we are. And yeah, it's really, really great to dig in. Now, are these memberships, can anybody join the Historical Society? And if so, how do they do that? And what would it, what would be a good step for them to take?
Our post office box is 672 in Stevens Point, and annual membership is $25. There is a senior membership of $20. If you're interested in a life membership, that's $500, but that automatically gets put into our foundation. And what we're trying to do is to create this foundation, and we've had people who have donated in their wills or, just a gift to that foundation. So we're trying to become financially independent and not so much dependent upon donations or grants from various places. And if we can achieve something along those lines, then we can continue with our various projects and not be so dependent on wearing out knee pads begging for money.
I'm hearing you. I'm absolutely hearing you. I brought along today, I know that it's difficult to see on the television here, but you put out a nice report recently about the historic Firehouse Number 2 roof and bell tower project that we were talking about a minute ago, and beautiful PDF document that got emailed to my office. And one of the things as I was looking at this was the fact that it was about a $38,000 project, and out of the list of folks and organizations that gave, wow, it was very fun to scan the full list and to see how wide the net is for those dollars that help to support the Historical Society's work, whether it's a foundation in Marathon County, or whether it was Portage County government at $4,000 on the roof project, or whether it was a family gift of $3,000 from certain individuals and anonymous donors, all sorts of donations, all the way to $30 here and $25 there. And and then there was all the in-kind support. Yes. So you had folks that were in various companies. Tell us about that. They were helping to make this project happen.
It was really neat because there was a lot of in-kind stuff. One gentleman, when they were lifting the bell tower, the people that came in with the derrick had put a steel beam through the top of the bell tower to lift it with a crane, and this guy comes along and says that won't work, those beams aren't strong enough. Wait a while. So he went over to a junkyard where Consolidated Papers had put a lot of their stuff, and he found an old paper roll, which is a steel tube.
Yes, yes.
He cut it in half, Jerry Kuchmarek, and brought the two parts in and said, this'll do. And so they hooked up those two tubes, steel tubes, and lifted the bell tower. So that kind of stuff just kind of happens. It's just neat. It's just neat. I mean, it was, within a day that all happened. He just decided this would work better, and it did.
I can see why you said it was fun, right?
It is.
It's fun
It's a ball.
because you get to problem solve, you get to dig in. I love to research things, and I know that we were researching some history related to Portage County as part of preparing for a bridge ceremony coming up in September in the village of Amherst, when the county transfers the mill bridge over to the village. But anyway, yeah, we love digging into it, and I can see how that would just be engaging. It'd be a blast to get into it and have the contributions come from so many different partners and directions. Yeah, everybody doing what they do well.
About 3 years ago, we wrote a letter to the Stevens Point Journal asking what they were going to be doing with their photographic morgue, which consisted of somewhere in the neighborhood of about 200,000 negatives and photographs. And they said, well, you can have them. So I have spent the last few years trying to organize their negatives and the proofs and all that sort of thing. So there's 160,000 negatives approximately, and then the additional are prints.
Photo morgue?
The journals.
Journals, photo morgue.
And that goes from 1936 until about 1994-ish, when some of them went digital, so you don't have negatives or prints anymore. But it's a fantastic collection. It's taking forever to organize it because it wasn't very well organized.
Truly.
But just amazing. And that's the kind of stuff we're putting into our archives, and that's what that building.
You need the building. So, back to Firehouse for just a second, the Firehouse Number 2. What's the next stage of this project? I want to make sure we get that into the show here.
Okay. The back side of the building is a flat roof, and it has some severe leakage problems. It's got kind of a rubberized covering on the roof, and that just isn't holding. We don't know underneath that structurally what has been damaged or not. So the rubber has to be taken off and the under structure looked at, and that's going to have to be fixed. Not exactly sure how much that's going to cost, probably in the neighborhood of about $10,000. That's a guess, because we really don't know what the substructure looks like until we get that cover off. But that's the next project. And when that's done, then the building will be secure in terms of water, snow, what have you. Then the next project will be, if you've ever seen old pictures of this building, is on the porch side, to rebuild the porch on the building. That was taken off a long time ago, and it really classes up the building just beautifully.
Now, tell me how do you use the building to get people in to learn right now?
Right now, it's basically a display of Stevens Point fire history. The history of the fire department, history of the big fires in the city. There are 2 fire vehicles in there. One was a horse-drawn hose carrier, which was Stevens Point's second oldest. Unfortunately, the oldest one is in Chicago, the old pumper. But we also have a DeFrance 1933. It's a diesel engine vehicle. And then all sorts of other smaller items that firemen would have used, uniforms, various equipment.
So folks can tour?
Oh, absolutely, on Saturdays and Sundays.
There you go.
Until about Labor Day, because the building isn't heated. Most of our buildings aren't. So depending on the weather, we tend to shut down around Labor Day or a little bit after.
And open up again in the springtime, and folks will have that opportunity at that time.
Sometime around Memorial Day.
Right. What would be your timeline if you were going to start on the back end of that project as we look forward here? Do you have a sense? You just have to wait to get the funding in place? Is that how it goes?
Yeah.
Okay.
We really have to wait for the funding, but it's our hope that we can get it done next summer.
All right.
But that, again, it just depends on what comes in.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Now, what else would you like to tell everybody about the Historical Society, about the mission, about projects and events?
Well, there's a couple of things. One, we have well, the Civil War thing will be this weekend, but and we do that on an annual basis. Portage County was deeply involved in the Civil War. The 18th Volunteer Wisconsin Regiment was from this area. The captain was from Amherst. We have their battle flag, which is the only one the state doesn't own, which is kind of neat. Some years ago we had that restored. And then on October 27th, we're going to be hosting a tour of the Plover Cemetery. Which is kind of fun. We have a young woman on our board who has researched all of this stuff, and we'll be talking about the various people that are there and their contributions to the community, either positive or nefarious, the Courtright lynching and all that. Those people are out there.
I have to go. Right in time for Halloween.
Yeah, well, that was kind of the timing of it, yes. And we also do on Halloween, we have people handing out candy at our site in Plover. So anybody that wants to, and we have a bake sale there. So anybody that wants to come out with their kids and trick or treat, we do that usually in the early afternoon, so it doesn't interfere with evening stuff. And then lastly, we're in the process of developing our post office doctor's office, which is really what the building was originally. Post office in the front, doctor in the back. We just got a new roof on it this week, and we're going to start working on the interior this week. And then finally, the general store needs a new roof, and that's the last building that needs a roof now for a while. So we should be doing that. We've got 3 of the 4 sides completed, working on the 4th, but now the roof needs to be done.
So there are lots of opportunities for folks to contribute if you have monetary contributions they want to make, or to contribute as in provide a hand, to help sort, to help give some of your own personal energy to projects, or maybe even if there's a business that wants to help provide some in-kind contributions on various things such as roofing, right?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Wow, I wish you the best as we continue with this mission forward here in Portage County. And I just have to say again, I really love my own connections to my own history, and I know I'm not alone. So thank you for what you do and for helping us remember where we came from. So I think we can do a better job at guiding our way forward together. Thank you so very much. I look forward to seeing you next month. We'll have a surprise guest. I don't have that guest lined up this minute, but trust me, I'll make sure that it's going to be an interesting topic and, of course, a relevant one to us here today in Portage County. Thank you for joining us.